My name is Vincent Bernard Orange Sr., at-large council member, and I chair the committee that has oversight over DC Emancipation Day. We're here in the nation's capital celebrating the 151st anniversary of DC Emancipation. 151 years ago, President Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States of America, executed the document DC Emancipation Compensated Act, which freed 3,100 enslaved persons here in the nation's capital. But it came at a cost. The federal government paid $1 million to the enslaved owners in order to free the 3,100. The federal government did this prior to President Abraham Lincoln executing the Emancipation Proclamation that freed the rest of the slaves in the Confederate States on January 1, 1863. Today we're celebrating our history because we must preserve our history and we must make our history known. Today is a day that we exercise our right to freedom and democracy. It's a beautiful day in the nation's capital. 2 days ago on Sunday, April 14th, we started the day with the DC Emancipation Brunch. Our keynote speaker was Dr. Julianne Malveaux, and it was just a great celebration of people just enjoying each other, enjoying democracy, enjoying freedom.
And with that, I want to issue y'all a challenge. We can't do this kind of work unless our young people are here. So if councilmen next year, don't let anybody in unless they bring a child with them. You know, I'm a little extreme about stuff like that. But when our young people are in the room and in the house, they learn, they hear, and they go back to tell the stories, because some of our young people don't know about Emancipation Day. They don't know about enslavement. They don't know that there was a slave market right there at 633 Pennsylvania Avenue where the National Council of Negro Women now exists.
That evening we had the Great Debate 2. In Great Debate 2, our moderator was Emmy Award winner Ed Gordon, and the panel consisted of that great Reverend Al Sharpton. On the panel with him was Dr. Julianne Malveaux. We also had Niger Enos as well as Star Parker. And it was a very lively debate.
Y'all want to have that? Stand right in the middle of the stage.
A very entertaining debate, but a very serious debate with that liberal view and that conservative view. And then today, we started out at the historic Willard Hotel, where 50 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King actually the final touches on his I Have a Dream speech. We started out this morning with Reverend Al Sharpton as our keynote speaker at a time where he really just tore the house down.
So when Vincent Orange and others convene the district once a year to tell this story, it is telling the story that reminds us of the hills and mountains that we've overcome to prepare us to come from other mountains and to go over other hills. If young folk in the district understood that folk who had no rights, that anyone was bound to respect, that if they came in your home to violate your wife, you couldn't even call the law because it was not against the law to violate your wife. Yet they stood up anyhow. If they understood that, then they would have more self-esteem. And you would not have to beg them not to kill each other and shoot each other because they would know the price that was paid for them.
He was introduced by Dick Gregory, another civil rights leader.
What we got going to us, you won't see it on NBC or CBS or ABC. The strongest two forces in the history of America have always been the black woman and the black church. That's how the greatest movement in the history of the planet, that 60s civil rights movement, we took on the mightiest nation in the world, that had the mightiest weapons in the world, and we won because of the black woman and the black church. And so somewhere, most of us is not aware of the fact that 98% of the people in the forefront of that civil rights movement had Reverend in front of their name.
From there, we had a magnificent parade down Pennsylvania Avenue. For the first time in the history of this parade, we had the armed forces that was part of the parade and celebrated with us. We also had Universal Soul Circus was part of the parade. We had universities as well as our own high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools. There was a big cry for freedom, a big cry for statehood, voting rights, and budget autonomy. From there, we had the Battle of the Bands. We had a fantastic show by the Universal Soul Circus, who will be back in the nation's capital for the next 3 years. Inside the John A. Wilson building, we had workshops. We had 4 workshops that were focused on the history of emancipation, international emancipation, on statehood, voting rights, and budget autonomy. We had a workshop where we showcased our students from Howard University, students who are working on their master's degree, on their doctoral degrees. It's been great. And here on Freedom Plaza, we heard the performance from West Virginia State Jazz Ensemble. They did an excellent job. And then we had our own Brian Lanier and his group. Brian Lanier is a saxophonist, and he did a great job. And we're now waiting for the 9-time Grammy Award winner, Kirk Franklin.
Let's go!
So it's been a great day. We had an opportunity to really teach people about emancipation, about freedom, about democracy. It's a beautiful day that we've been rejoicing in all day long, and now we're going to take it into the night. It's been a great, great experience, and I'm just proud to be a part of it. I'm glad to have been touched by God Almighty to come up with the legislation to create this public holiday for us to preserve our history here in the nation's capital. Thank you so much for all those that came down, and that are coming down to participate in this great holiday experience.